Well, good evening, and welcome to a special edition of the Islands That Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me are members of the University of California. They were in Bermuda. Ty helped me out 2 weeks ago.
Correct. Yeah, we're here about just before May 24th until June 2nd.
Well, we can't say May 24th anymore. Bermuda Day. We're, we're,
Bermuda
we're
Day.
trying. We're trying to
Yeah.
get away from it because the holiday is set up. Now, if you came in on May 24th, yeah, we could say that. But
Right, that's right. I'm dating myself. It'll always be May 24th for me, but yeah,
well,
Bermuda Day.
you know what?
We came in May 25th.
Okay, but I agree with you. A lot of people in Bermuda, and we're going to sidebar for a second. A lot of people in Bermuda still call it the May 24th holiday because growing up over the number of years, it was always held on May 24th, no matter what day throughout the week it was. But over the last maybe 5 or 6 years, they've changed it to the last Friday of the month, unless the 24th falls on the Friday, which we all know there's 31 days in May. So when the 24th falls, it falls the second to last Friday. So we have the holiday on that day. And then the 31st is considered a regular, normal day. But first of all, let me just say, welcome to Cal State. I want to introduce Cassidy, Samantha, Dr. Ty, and of course, Shelly, who is the head coach of the women's hockey team that toured into Bermuda. I want to start off with you, Ty. Convincing Cal and Shelly to come to Bermuda for a tour. How difficult was that pitch for you?
Well, first, good evening to everyone. Good to see you, Mr. Basden. Thank you for having us. I definitely have to first acknowledge Coach Shelley and her leadership, and to also clarify that we are the University of California, Berkeley. So we are actually Cal. I know some
Yes.
Bermuda had thought we were Cal State.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That was actually something that was said multiple times in Bermuda, and so we want to definitely clarify. And with all due respect to the other institutions in Cal State, we're Cal Athletics, and it didn't really take a whole lot to convince anyone, really. Frankly, as the associate athletic director for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice at the University of California, Berkeley, Cal Athletics, have the privilege of supporting all 30 of our programs. And Coach Shelley and our field hockey program, one of the amazing programs I get to work with and support. And the opportunity to go to Bermuda actually wasn't my idea. I want to give a special shout out to Coach Shelley Onstead, right? I would say this: during the pandemic, we did have a virtual session with students at the Bermuda Institute. We have partnered with the Pain into Purpose initiative. And so if there was any influence that I had, it was that initial connection where we built some relationships. And I think Bermuda came on Coach Shelley's radar, right? And the program's radar. And I think from there, the pink sand, the blue water, and the amazing facility at the National Stadium, I think helped to do some of the other bits that probably I didn't need to do. And of course, once the trip got going and they decided to make it happen, they thought that I would be an appropriate person to support as the administrator on the trip. So I also want to shout out my colleague, Gordon Bain, who's actually the sport administrator for field hockey. But he acquiesced and said, I'm going to give up the Bermuda trip, and feel free to step in and make sure that they have a good time on my behalf. And so that's what we got to do. So it was really a team effort. I bring greetings from my athletic director, Jim Knowlton, as well.
Sure. So Shelley, let me jump right into you because Dr. Ty has given you a lot of credit for when it was initially talked about. Here you are with an opportunity after so many years of not being able to travel. Bermuda pops up on your radar. Getting that support and understanding of what you wanted to come to Bermuda to do and accomplish. How difficult was the sell for your athletes?
I'm happy to hear what they say about this, but I didn't think it was a difficult sell. Dr. Ty set it up perfectly. Everything came together in such a way. so the NC2A, the governing body for college athletics, says you can do a foreign tour, any sport, once every 4 years. And we had a tour scheduled to Argentina in 2020 that got canceled. And I wasn't quite sure when I was going to sort of get back on the rotation. It just came together in such a way this spring, somewhat last minute. They usually want you to plan for a year, and we put this together in a few months. It just fit the bill. You have to have a certain, I think, certain outcomes you want to have from a tour, but very much for me, the competitive piece is a part of it, but the cultural piece is bigger. The bonding and the experience of the team is the biggest. And Bermuda was, because they had the proper pitch, which had to be the main competitive piece for me. It was not a difficult decision, and having Dr. Tai on staff was great, because I knew we'd have, if he couldn't go with, which I'm really glad he did, I knew we'd have some insight, and he did do a ton of work during pandemic where we were all doing work on Zoom that piqued my interest when I thought, okay, when we tour again, this is a potential place. That I'm really familiar with Pan American hockey because of my work with our national teams. So I had a good idea of what we were getting into, and I was pretty excited about it.
So let me ask you, because one of the things that I'm always intrigued about, I follow, Bermuda has 26 national sports, and then we also have other sports that are not recognized, and I pretty much follow each and every one of them. When obviously Dr. Tai would have got you in contact with Bermuda, and then you find out that there's a hockey pitch that they play league hockey on. It's the only one that we have. What was some of the things that you would have wanted to bring to the country to help the country? Because I'm pretty sure Dr. Tai would have told you the country really needs help in laying out what I want to say, structure. And it's very important. We honestly, in Bermuda, and Dr. Tai will probably attest to this, we think we know it all until we see the rest of the world. And one of the things that we lack is that structure of building a program to sustain ourselves. So was that one of the things that kind of intrigued you to say, oh, yeah, that's what we want to do?
Yeah. The U.S. is part of the Pan American Federation, and I've been on a number of the islands in the different parts of the Federation, and have seen the state of the programs. Once I thought this might be a good idea, I reached out to the Bermuda Hockey Federation. I got to know the folks in charge there, and then I got in touch with their head coach. And all of those conversations led me to, look, we can help and they can help us. There was kind of a two-way go. And any country, even ours, has ups and downs when it comes to sport development, sport governance, Olympic sport governance. The Pan America is the gateway to Olympics. And it was really encouraging to hear that the women had qualified for the Caribbean and Central American Games, because I know that that's unusual. And I know that typically the men will go through, but the women won't. So that was very intriguing to me. So I got right on the phone with Coach Coven and said, I want to collaborate. I want to help you. I want to know how we can advance you in a week. And he got excited about making it a bit more of a training camp, in a sense, for his side. So there was a lot of back and forth on this, based on my experience with Olympic buildup and competitions all around the world, and the really critical piece to the training and the training camps.
Sure. So Cassidy, I'm going to come to you, because when you heard there was a possible trip to Bermuda, what was your first thoughts?
I mean, I got the email, international tour. I opened it, was really excited. And then I saw we were going to Bermuda, and I was like, that's awesome. I'm in, let's do it. When and where do I show up? But yeah, it's just kind of such a once in a lifetime opportunity. I was really excited and grateful that I got to be a part of it.
Sure. And Samantha, for you, the same question. you get an email or a notice, you're going to Bermuda. It's a hockey tour.
Yeah, kind of like Cassidy said, I was in the dorm because I was a freshman at the time, and we were all just hanging out one night, and then we got the email, and we all just screamed, and we're like, oh my God, we're going to Bermuda. And then like, it was, I mean, for me, it was really nice because I lived local. So like coordinating everything, because it was a little bit more last minute, was easy for me. So it was a really easy decision, and I'm just so like grateful that we got to go. But yeah, first time using my passport, I was psyched.
And Dr. Ty, obviously, you're bringing an institution to your home. Talk about when it was confirmed, how you felt that you would have an opportunity to bring a whole host of athletes, student athletes, coaches, and coaching staff to your hometown.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about and write about being a border crossing brother and connecting communities. And so, I've had the opportunity to do this in other spaces, but to be able to do it in Bermuda was really special to me, especially because it was around Bermuda Day, right? I haven't had a chance to be home for Bermuda Day in a while. I've been home for Cup Match, but to be home for Bermuda Day and to have our student athletes to be able to experience Bermuda together was really special, and to do with field hockey. I have a really good relationship with Coach Shelley, and to get to know 22 or 25 in total new folks, or 24 new people, and in particular our student athletes, and to seek to learn their names. Right, for me, it wasn't just about them learning Bermuda, but I was also seeking to make sure I got to learn them. So through my work in my office and in our department, to me it's a win-win opportunity for Bermuda to also know that I think part of what we do as Bermudians is not just to take the best of who we are elsewhere, but also find a ways to build bridges back. And so as someone who was born and raised in Bermuda, who Bermuda poured into me, any opportunity that I have to amplify Bermuda, but also to connect, bridges and build infrastructure is something I'm committed to. So it was an honor, right? It was an honor, and to be able to be a part of, the parade and the half marathon relay with them, it was a really, really special experience. And I'm grateful that they were also very sensitive to what it means to enter a space. And just in full context, when we enter Bermuda Island, and it's still reading, but was in particular dealing with the immediate loss of Marco Warren. So I want to also just thank Coach Shelley and her program for being good stewards of the space. And that was something we took a lot of time with, and so I want to thank them for that. Right. It was more than just me. It was a we, and our student athletes, our staff and coaches were very sensitive to that. They learned Bermudian songs. They learned morning. I mean, when I got on the bus and we were traveling to Bermuda, they had Proud to be Bermudian playing. These folks, they embraced us, and our country embraced them. And so I think it was a really beautiful bridge building experience for all of us.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, because what is one of the most vital things is when it was confirmed and it was going to be around Bermuda Day, how exciting were you? Because you get to actually not have to add any of our culture, because our culture was going to be on display for them to actually be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to give them a little intel. I was like, listen, because I think when they were thinking about dates, they were thinking about like May, June window. And I said, well, if you're going to go, there are 2 times you want to go, right? And so if you're thinking May, June, let's get that Bermuda Day in. So they were very intentional about just receiving that insight and counsel to suggest that we get there in time to sort of just be immersed in Bermuda Day. And from there, once you crack that code and you're in that element, it's a microcosm of Bermuda, right? And so, yeah, that was intentional. That was, perfect timing. And, we leveraged that wave of enthusiasm and navigated even the rain, right? To have a great experience. And the people were just very warm. There's nothing like Bermuda, right? I just want to say that, right? That Bermuda is a beautiful place. And the people, the way that people treat you, there's value when you're running a race and people are shouting out "Go Bears," so that they know you, or they feel that they know you, whether it's through what they heard about us or through just some of the advocacy that we did as a leadership team preparing for them to come, and the student athletes on their own right. And the staff, they spend time in our schools. I think Bermuda recognized that we're a community that's invested in pouring into our country, and that they've also been good to me as my family away from Bermuda in California.
So I want to jump to Cassidy and Samantha. Samantha, I'm going to come to you first. So, apart from the relay, because I didn't know if you took part in the relay, but I'll get back to that in a few minutes. Being involved in the parade on Bermuda Day, did you know what to expect, and did it meet your expectations, or were you fully surprised by the fact that we had torrential rain and you were still out there having a good time?
The parade was awesome. It was definitely one of like the highlights of the trip because it's pouring rain. We were waiting for a little bit, like, okay, we don't really know what to expect. And we were all a little bit shy at first, like trying to interact with everyone just because we didn't really know what was going on. But then by like the middle end, it was just like amazing. We like played with the kids and everyone was so welcoming, and like the little kids would come up and they would give us hugs and we would talk to them, and like everyone was just that was watching the parade was so nice, and it like just took us in and danced with us in the middle of the street. It was just really cool experience.
Yeah. And Cassidy, for you, what was that experience like? Because I mean, I'm not sure if you ever experienced a national holiday where first you're gonna run a race and then the next you're having a parade, and actually it's a downpour.
It was really fun. Like Sam said, I definitely wasn't expecting the amount of engagement that we got back. I was just kind of expecting people to be like, what's this group? Who are they? But no, everyone, was chanting "Go Bears." All the little kids were running in. They were super excited to try out, the hockey sticks, coming and running up, giving us hugs. It was really awesome. I felt like a little famous. But yeah, it was really great. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. So Shelly, I'm gonna call you Coach Shelly. Coach
Yeah, no
Shelly,
problem.
um, trying to explain what this tour was going to be for the players, because I'm pretty sure Coach Ty would have talked to you and talked to the players about, about Bermuda, but having them to understand what their role would be once they arrived on the island, having them to run a half marathon. Let me ask you first. Did you see the course?
Yes. Excuse me, I did. So I'm a runner, and I'm familiar with elevations and that sort of thing. And again, this was a brilliant suggestion by Dr. Tai. I did not understand at the beginning of this. And by the way, we did the relay. We didn't
Yes, you
all
done the
run.
relay. Yes.
I did not understand it was the same day. I thought race one day, parade the next. And when I heard it was all one day, I was kind of like, okay, this will be interesting. And it was so great timing to come in the first part of the trip, pre-competition time, and
Mhm.
have this immersed situation in a cultural day that far exceeded my expectations. I was really grinning listening to the student athletes speak because we did try to prep everybody, and we always talk about entering new space and walking softly, and but from the start, the engagement in the relay, and I'll give you an example. I got an email from the woman in charge of our bus.
Yes,
And we arrived the night before. We arrived Thursday, and this was happening first thing Friday morning.
right.
And she asked me, "What are you wearing? What are you wearing when you're running?" And I was thinking, why is she asking me that? But I answered her. Well, I didn't know her house was on the route, and she had a sign up for us, and everybody was looking for us to say "Go Bears," and it was like that the whole route. It was amazing. So that was the beginning. We're soaking wet. We've got some transition time to get into the parade. Again, Ty told me, look, it's the biggest day on the island. It's the moment, Bermuda Day, but you're kind of finding your way as you go. And the progression in the parade that they just described, where we just wanted to not misstep, and then the next thing you know, we're dancing the Macarena in the rain in the middle of Hamilton. It was epic. And this is what this team will talk about in 20 years. Exactly. And
Yeah.
I will tell you this, my group, we had a coach in each group,
Uh-huh.
said as we're waiting for the relay to get to us, they looked at each other and they said, let's meet here in 10 years and run this again.
Oh,
And
wow.
I so hope it happens. I mean, that's just epic.
Wow. And I want to bring Ty in because the smile that came on his face just now, I'm pretty sure, Ty, you would have never been able to explain it in detail of what they were going to experience on the day. And to be honest, in a way, I'm glad it rained. You know why? Because it just brought that much more joy to the fact that when they were running and when they were in the parade, nobody left their seatmate. Nobody left their camp. They stayed the entire time to watch not only the Bears, but the parade, which I was like, oh man, this is not going to happen. But here you have.
Listen, words come to my mind. It really doesn't matter. There's no place better. Proud to be Bermudian. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That's it, right? I mean, but she said, that to me, that's like, I hope our sport information directors get this link. You know, let's meet here in 10 years and do this again. Like that's
why wait 10 years? Let's do it in 5 years. Let's bring them back in 5 years.
Right? Yeah, I mean that's amazing. Yeah, Coach Shay, I love that. Let's make sure you write that down and make sure that folks hear that and think. It wouldn't surprise me if even one of our student athletes ends up somehow back in Bermuda, you know, living somehow. Like I just feel like the connections that they made, they'd have stayed much longer. They had one more fish sandwich. They'd probably not wanting to leave, you know. So
look at these smiles on your face. Look at these smiles.
Yeah, I mean, they would beginning to like finish sentences and figuring out where they were. Like, but all right, the stuff's right over there, you know. Like they'll figure it out. And by the way, I just want to give a special shout out to all the different organizations and schools that showed us love. When I think about Leopards Club, you know, opening up that space to us and like, you know, it was us. I mean, there are videos I see in the post, but I mean, they got to meet Gennaro Taka and Lano Tican, right? I mean, like they got to spend time with Charlie Marshall and other leaders in our community. You know, the premier, they got to meet the premier at Bernard's Park. I mean, you know, the CEO of Hamilton, you know, Dwayne Keynes and the town crier loved on them, right? Like, I mean, they got the best of Bermuda, which is what we all typically can get on a daily basis. But I think it's something that we sometimes take for granted because it's what we get on a daily basis. And so I'm grateful that our student athletes appreciated the proximity to greatness and that, you know, for those of us who, you know, don't get back as often, it was really special to be able to introduce them to something that has produced me, right? And so, you know, shout out to the student athletes and our staff and coaches. You know, they and to the island of Bermuda, to every organization that showed us love and were warm and welcoming. That's what we do. That's who we are. So I love that line. Let's do it again in 10 years. I'm already thinking like, how can we get other teams to maybe even biannually, right? That we can. Maybe our track and field, you know, team comes in 2 years, and maybe another team comes at another time. Maybe we do where our soccer team comes, and you know, we bring some other universities that come, and it becomes like this sort of biannual sport, you know, symposium to ensure that young people in the island. I hope that people who are watching this will know that you can go and play sport at the university level and higher. You know, we have great talent in Bermuda. I challenge the notion that like our size is a hindrance or a problem. I actually think our size is our strength. And so I want to make sure that we have an asset-based thought process view of who we are as Bermudians, and size being something that actually makes us great. Most people in the States typically on a day-to-day basis aren't always traveling a whole lot beyond a 20-mile radius anyway, right? So for us to have that greatness packed in 21 square miles is not a weakness. It's actually a strength. And I think our student athletes clearly experience that.
Sure. And I'm glad you touched on some of our leaders in the country, the fact that they were able to walk up and have a conversation with, shake a hand, and you don't always get that in other countries, but because we're so close, tight-knit community, we in Bermuda take advantage of that. I mean, we would walk across the governor, the premier, and say, hey, and call them by their first name because we're so close. But the reality is that they are the leaders, and having an opportunity to kind of rub shoulders with them, I think you guys got the best tour you could ever get, led by Dr. Ty and of course Coach Shelley. But let's jump right into what one of the things you came here for, and that was to help advance our women's hockey team. Coach Shelley, you mentioned early that once very rare, and we've seen it over the years, the women have advanced to the CAC games. It's an opportunity for them to, go to that next level. And you took that chance to call Coach Coven and say, how can we help? How can we? Were you surprised by the level of play? And when I say the level of play, in an amateur world, because we have all amateur sports in Bermuda, we have a few professionals who are not on island who compete over, but in the amateur world, having responsibilities and all that. I mean, I know you coach student athletes, but in the workforce world, were you surprised by the level of play that the Bermuda women were able to produce on a regular basis throughout the games?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised at their level, at their tactical understanding. Like I said, I'm familiar with the Pan American group, and you have all levels, and I knew that we would be a strong side,
Right.
because I have the luxury of recruiting all over the world, and being able to recruit from my local area, like you see here. I've got a Northern California in the room here, a Southern Californian, and then we had 8 countries represented on our team. And hockey's an international sport. It's a very popular sport worldwide. So it's a luxury that I can recruit in South Africa and Spain and Holland and Australia. And those players tend to start quite young. So I knew I was coming with a group that was quite strong, but we hadn't had much chance to train together. So I got to have my training camp before, which was our benefit. And then his training camp was while we were there. So I was less intrigued by, let's compete and let's see what the score is at the end of the day. But what can I do with my group to help you focus on something that you need for CAC? And that went well. And I think they progressed very well through the week. And then there was a neat sort of coming together of both teams. It culminated with the last night when we had dinner together. There was a good things going on and off the field. And because of the school visits that Ty inspired, the benefits. I had a Zoom this morning with one of the young ladies on the national team about how she can, advance her career collegiately, because she's about done with high school. When we got to Horseshoe Bay, we had our moments of tourism, right? The young men that greet you and are, sort of in charge of the rentals and stuff, the guy sees us and he says, I'm on the national rugby team, U17. What do I need to do? I handed him my card. I said, email me. I'll help you. Our message was that whether it's hockey or not, there's opportunity in sport. And so I'm sorry, I know you asked me about the Bermudian team. They're doing well, but there was a lot going on. It was great.
Well, I actually wanted to get to that part about the school itself and what the opportunities are for anyone, student athlete, well, student alone. I mean, because so you're in charge of the women's hockey team, but student athlete and Dr. Ty, you could jump in here as well. The opportunities for advancement in education through sport, through arts, through whatever, the door is always open, isn't it? Dr. Ty?
Go for it, Coach Shelley. I'll go after you.
Oh, I think he asked you, but I agree. I agree with you. And I think we did a nice job saying that didn't have to be sport. It could be art or music.
Right.
I think these other 2 young ladies in the room got a ton out of understanding what they were representing. And you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but there was, in some of the feedback I've gotten from you guys, it's that oh, we can have an impact just by explaining our story, and
Mhm.
that if you're passionate about something, you can get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I'm happy to jump in as well. I would say, yeah, I mean, I don't think the door is always open. I think that when it comes to collegiate sports, obviously there is that window of eligibility, but I think the door is open if young people know that they have access and there is opportunity, and that we build on ramps that they can have access, right? So, sport is something that one can participate in their entire lives, which is a great thing, and I think there is a timeliness. And a pathway to like who gets access to particular opportunities. There is a formula, right? There is, whether it's, and we shared this in a number of schools that we visited, right? Whether it's emailing coaches, whether it's, getting tape of yourself, whether it's recognized that in addition to D1 or D2 opportunities, there were D3 like there's a continuum of sport, of universities and levels that, I think a lot of Bermudians probably could have taken even greater advantage of in the past. And a lot of it has to do also with timing, of exposure, of access, of information sharing. We have a number of Bermudians who have played at a high level overseas and in collegiate athletics, right? And so I think it's important to name that. That was one of the goals that we had for the trip, was to figure out how we could get in the same proximity our student athletes from the University of California, with also Bermudians who have gone off to college and played in the NCAA level and beyond, right? So shout out also, even on this call, on this Zoom, this stream, to every Bermudian athlete, former, collegiate, and also those who played locally, who create a context for competition and growth so that others can get the opportunity to go overseas. So yes, the door is open. I hope on this call, maybe some of our student athletes could share some things that they share in the schools about how does one get access to like a scholarship. Some people walk on, so there are different ways you can get access. Maybe that's a good pivot point as well, that maybe some of our student athletes could share for those who are listening and maybe interested in getting access to collegiate athletics.
Definitely. I mean, that was one of the things I shared with you when I asked you to get people together, because I wanted people to have the opportunity to know that the door's never always closed. There's always opportunities there, whether you want to be an athlete or you want to be, an artist, if you want to, whatever's available. And you might be on the other side of the United States for some, but it's a plane ride away. And you've proven that from being from Bermuda.
Absolutely. And there are sports that we play in Bermuda that we don't always think about getting opportunities in, right? So field hockey was something that wasn't really on my radar prior to spending time with our field hockey program here at Cal. But you think about rugby, you think about running, track and field. When I was at the University of Missouri, I met one of our Carifta athletes who was at Mizzou just because I was reading the World Gazette at the time, and I saw she was at Carifta. I'm like, hey, let's connect, right? Shout out to Carrie Furman, right? So the John Barrys, the Coutures, right? These are we got to spend some time with John Barry at Saltus, right? Bermudians have gone abroad and done great things. Brian Wellman, right? When you watch the national championships in track and field, he was top of the stairs in his own right at Arkansas. So obviously cricket isn't something that's played in the United States as much, but maybe in South Africa you can get an opportunity, or obviously in England we're taking advantage of that. So there are
it will grow in the United States next year.
Say it again.
It would definitely grow in the United States next year because they're hosting the World Cup.
Yeah. Right.
So
wait.
It will really grow. Along with the West Indies, the United States is hosting the World Cup, and I'm pretty sure it will grow. So let me just jump to two people that I really shouldn't even talk to because they scored in the first game against Bermuda. Samantha, why you had to score to make it 3-1? That's good, right? And you got a big smile, like you're happy that you scored against Bermuda. Come on. But take us through your first experience on the hockey pitch in the match against Bermuda.
It was really fun. It was awesome. Like Shelly said, it was kind of the beginning of our whole new team coming together, just because we had some grad students that just flown in, and we had all this was just one of the first times that we'd all played together, and everyone I think we made it a goal at the very beginning just to like get to know each other, obviously off the field, but like on the field too. And from the first game to the last, I feel like we really improved, and it was just so much fun to like be there with everyone. And the Bermuda national team was so nice and kind, and I don't know, it was just a really cool experience.
Sure. They were so kind to you. They let you beat them 9-2. But Cassidy, you made it 6-2. Listen, why? What? You just wanted to get on the score sheet, didn't you? I know you. I know you. I see the look on your face. You gave it away.
The first collegiate goal, I had to, got a good setup for my teammate. I was excited to score.
But then, obviously, for you ladies, conditions changed. I mean, okay, so you took part in the Bermuda Day half marathon. It rained. You took part in the Bermuda Day celebration. It rained. The first day of competition in the hockey, it rained a bit, but then it just kept going. Very unique for this country, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Ty would agree with me. We haven't seen this type of weather in probably our entire lifetime.
Wow.
It's been torrential ever since. But just having the opportunity for a new team, Coach Shelley, putting them together, putting them through the paces, what is it you're looking for in a student athlete that attracts you to kind of bring them into the program?
Given our academic rigor, we have to look carefully at their academic profile.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say you have to have straight 4.0, but it has to be part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we've got to look at their technical and tactical skills. But I think most coaches will tell you, and I will answer for myself, I am trying to suss out players with a work ethic. I'm trying to find players with an understanding of the journey, the understanding of we recruit all the top players we can find. So they're all going to be best in their pond now, and then they're going to come and jump into a new pond. And being okay with the road bumps, understanding that's part of growth. I don't even like using the word failure, but you're going to maybe not start or play as much as you thought at the beginning, or you might get a bad grade. You might fail a class, because our job is to make you bigger, better, stronger in the classroom, on the field. And just that we're going to constantly ask them to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you reach this goal, we're going to say, well, guess what? The goal's here. And understand as much as possible that the big picture is the journey, the things you'll learn from it, the relationships that the student athletes have mentioned, and just the beauty of coming together as a team of a bunch of individuals and doing well as a group. That's what's always drawn me to the game and to coaching and that challenge. So as a recruiter, you're trying to fit people into that expectation and culture, and as much as we can align our values with our incoming group.
Sure. So Cassidy, let me ask you, when you get that email, that phone call that the University of California, or Cal, is looking for your talent, how do you react to something like that? A big school.
Yeah, I was very, very excited. Cal was kind of the first school to let me know that they were interested, and so that was the first kind of time I was like, oh wow, okay, I can really do this. I can play in college. So yeah, it was really exciting. And then obviously on top of that, to get an offer from the #1 public university is like crazy. It's just something you really can't pass up. So yeah.
Sure. And Samantha, for you, what was that conversation like with family? Because even if you're from the area, this school is one of the top schools in the state. I mean, Division I, and they're looking for not only your hockey talent, but your academic talent.
Yeah, I think my parents were pretty happy. It was always like a dream of mine to to come to Cal just because I live so close. Like growing up, it's just, like growing up in the area, you hear about Cal because obviously, like Cassidy said, it's #1 public university in the world. So it was just a really amazing opportunity, and I was very, very happy to say the least.
Sure. And Dr. Ty, I mean, obviously, we learned a bit more about you whilst you were on the island, at the memorial service for Marco Warren. You were back at a place where you would have started out one of your careers in teaching. But having the opportunity to be at an institution such as Cal, why did you jump to that particular opportunity at a time of your life where, there were many doors open?
Yeah, I mean, for those who know about the University of California, Berkeley, it's a sort of one of those foundational places when it comes to activism and sport and world leaders, right? I mean, folks who win Nobel Prizes, work here, and so when you want to do something on a global level, you want to be around folks who are committed to excellence. And so obviously, as you mentioned, I was a teacher at Bermuda Institute for 5 years, and I've been in education for my entire career in various ways. When I was at the University of Missouri, I was there as a professor, but spent some time working in athletics, as a strategic partner, doing some work at the NCAA, did a study of our Black male student athletes. And, obviously, when you think about 2020 has been on a lot of people's radars as relates to uplift and activism. But at the University of Missouri, before, I like to say, Kaepernick, kneeled, the student athletes at Mizzou stood, and I was a part of that experience there at Mizzou. And so I saw a lot that led me to really have a desire for bringing together research and practice, right? And so, when George Floyd was murdered and a number of positions like mine opened up across not just collegiate athletics, but also in the professional space, I was ready, right? I had already, studied these issues, written about them. I'm trained to be a chief diversity officer on a campus. And it was just really a confluence of sort of various factors where opportunity met preparation. And to be able to do that at an institution that's committed to uplift and being leaders in activism, not just in sport, but more broadly, it just made sense, So, when I look at just the trajectory of my career, I feel like this is one of those times where, I'm where I'm supposed to be, right? And I've tried to just be intentional about being in spaces where, my gifts can be appreciated and add value to the community that I'm in. And like I shared with our staff and our field hockey team and in Bermuda, I shared this, I really get to give them Bermuda, the field of belonging and justice. And, those are things that, as we shared in school, it's like, that's what we do in Bermuda. When you walk into a room, Mr. Bass, and, and you didn't speak to somebody, they'll say, they'll correct you, wouldn't they? Right? they'll let you know, hey,
get out.
Right? Or good afternoon, right? And I mean, that's embedded in our country is a reality that we ensure that people know that we see each other, right? Don't walk in there and just start asking me for stuff. Don't just come in and just start making demands. First, acknowledge my presence. That's a fundamental principle of DIBJ, right? And so I get to do and get paid. I get paid to do what was naturally, well, I wouldn't say natural, but what was invested in me, that I was nurtured to do, being in an island like Bermuda, where you have to be intentional about relationships because you're going to see the people again, right? And so, so for me, it's a beautiful amalgamation of who I am, and what I get to do is an outgrowth of who I am, and Bermuda made me so, right? So I think, if anything, I hope that folks who are watching and listening know that they have access to various spaces, opportunities, the things that we're doing in Bermuda. It may feel like it's just in Bermuda. No, like we're living in a global world. There are a lot more opportunities, other ways you can connect now. And so I just hope that every Bermudian knows that anything that you see any person that's outside of Bermuda doing, it's a reflection of the great things that are happening in Bermuda. And I hope that we can find ways to scale them and make a global impact, because Bermuda really does have a say in world conversations.
Sure. I mean, it's as simple as this. I'm sitting in Bermuda, you're all sitting elsewhere, and it's just a conversation, just a connection. And that's what the world has become, a connection. Coach Shelley, let me ask you, since Beijing Olympics 2008, where you were an assistant coach with the U.S. team, how much has the game of hockey, field hockey, changed over the years?
It's changed quite a bit in that like you see in other sports, in tennis and golf, the clubs are now made of carbon. Like, it's faster, it's stronger, it happens quicker. It demands a really high level pitch so that the game can be played at a fast pace safely. And in a lot of ways it hasn't changed, but some of the biggest rule changes in hockey came before, like the 96 Olympics. There's not offsides anymore. They've pretty much taken the obstruction call out. So it's much more friendly to watch. And the International Federation has made a big effort to make it more friendly to watch on television. You can see that most of the international pitches at the Olympic level are blue because that's better for television. So there've been quite a bit of gains. It's actually pretty great. There's a pro league, like the game's moving pretty quickly at the top level.
Sure. And well, I'm gonna put Samantha on the spot. Soccer or hockey? Which one's your favorite? Don't say hockey now because the coach is on, but tell me the truth.
Or definitely hockey. I played soccer when I was younger, like up until sixth grade or freshman year competitively, and then I just played exclusively in high school after that, and I hated it. I used to love it, and then I started playing field hockey, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm making the switch. I have to give this up. This is terrible compared to field hockey. So definitely, it's faster, it's more fun.
Let me ask you then, because one of the things that I've played, I've tried field hockey, but I played a lot of football, which we call football. It's soccer. The concept of moving around is pretty much the same. So do you think that early teaching of soccer helped your understanding of hockey?
Definitely. I think in terms of like the spacing and the more like off-ball movement, that really helped the transition from soccer to field hockey. That was super helpful. Yeah, so it's really similar in that sense, I would say.
Okay. All right. And let me just jump to Cassidy. Cassidy, for you, what was that turning point for you to say, I want to play and dedicate my early life to the sport of field hockey?
I was like Sam. I started playing soccer. I was pretty good at it, but as you get older and older, the girls get better and better, and it wasn't for me anymore. So I heard about field hockey for the first time, and I was like, you know what, that sounds fun. Let me try it. I started pretty late, around 13 years old, but yeah, picked it up really quick, and just ever since then, I've been trying to get better. But yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask, Coach, were you aware that both of these players played a bit of soccer growing up?
Yeah, it's pretty common. It's really big. The soccer group in California has a really great youth system, so they often roll right into soccer young, 6 probably. I asked these two. And then there's quite a few that matriculate over for one reason or another, and you're absolutely right. The spacing, the tactics are quite similar. Same number on the field. You got your forwards, your mids, your backs. I watched a ton of football. Go City. Sorry, Dr. Ty. And I actually, do.
Dr. Ty shaking his head.
I do work on
Arsenal or United support.
I know. And I lived in Holland for a year because of my hockey career, and
Okay.
I'm a fan of the football clubs in Holland.
Right.
So I
Holland,
know
yeah.
PSV and I know Arsenal. I know some of those players. It's
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's similar.
Sure. Sure. Are you familiar with Ajax?
Yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, there is a relation of Coach Ty
Really
does the fitness training for Ajax.
nice.
His name is Troy Douglas. He's a former
Wow.
Olympian commuter. He also competed for Holland. So that's your connection right there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So let me ask you, Cassidy, are you playing the same position in field hockey that you played in soccer?
No, I always played forward when I played soccer. Now, I'm a top mid. So I guess still in that, the attacker role a little
Upper
bit,
third,
but
the upper third of the upper
yep.
third of the field.
But yeah, started playing field hockey. I played defense, so I've kind of played all over. But I think I played some forward in Bermuda as well. So
Yeah,
I'm all over the place.
hit the backboard a couple of times. So yeah. Samantha, what about you? Are you playing the same position or are you playing somewhere different?
No, I also switched up a bit. When I played soccer, I was defensive center mid for a while, and then I think I moved on the outside. But now I play more up top as a forward.
Yeah. So, Coach, when you're looking for talent to make a team, because a lot of people just think, okay, if I get the best 16 players in the country, it's going to work.
Doesn't always.
And we could use that terminology for a team that just won the treble in the UK or in Europe with Manchester City. You have to have specialized people in special positions, right?
Yes.
Isn't that right? So when you're looking for talent and you already have a talent for that position and you're looking for that person that could possibly, if that person can't go, to have a replacement to do half the job. What are you looking for in a student athlete that can fit into your program, not as a starter, but just as a role player?
Okay, we're getting in depth here. One of the reasons I'm a City fan is I'm a huge Pep fan because I think he's an amazing coach.
Yes.
But remember, I'm in a collegiate situation. They roll out every 4 years.
Right.
And I need depth in positions, and I need to allow for sometimes they grow in different ways, and all of a sudden, yeah, Cassidy came in as a forward, but heck, she's a midfielder because she can see the game and the pass as well. So you have to have some room for that, and that kind of goes back to my willingness to learn and be open and grind and do the work and put in extra work. There are certain positions that are skill level, goalkeeper, of course. There are very few pure center strikers. And everybody else kind of comes in the collegiate level as midfielders from their big pond because the midfielders touch the ball more than anybody. So once they come into our system, they're going to gravitate usually forward or back, and some will stay in the midfield. And I'm also speculating, on what I think their trajectory will be. And then you have to have depth for that time that they leave. So it's a lot. It's great, but it never ends.
Right. Dr. Ty, I'm going to come to you for the final question, and I want you to sum up what you think of what these young ladies and the coaches have told you about this particular tour and the fact that the influence Bermuda has had on their life and what they take from it.
I love it. I'm gonna do it this way, and let's see if it elicits any responses from them. I'm gonna say names like birdies. right? DeGrasse, Delwood, Summersfield. They visited what's it, Leopards Club, right? I mean, they know where these places are. Again, City Hall. They spent time there. I mean, we visited a number of schools. We had a whole group of like our entire group go to Purvis and Paget Primary School and Work Academy. But we also had some smaller touches, right? We went to West Pembroke, but we also went to some smaller schools and some smaller settings with kids that may not necessarily be in the traditional sort of school pipeline, right? Kids that just needed a 3-on-5 sort of setting, right? It was beautiful. I mean, North Rock, we snorkeled at North Rock, so they got to see not the beauty on land, but also the beauty underneath the water. The Bermuda Day Parade, the half marathon, multiple fish savages, right? Just the people that they got to connect with. It's a trip of a lifetime. It's a trip that I think will forever ground aspects of their capacity to connect and navigate culture. I think that they'll refer to it when they're in other countries and when they're trying to figure out other scenarios. I think for me, amidst the rain, the physical, but also just the weight, the grayness in the clouds were windows of sunshine. In particular, the Tuesday night tribute match that we framed as a Pain into Purpose match. And, we want to shout out to our Pain into Purpose family in Bermuda, to Kajani Burgess' family and to Marco's family who joined us on that Tuesday night match. And to see, the Gumbe drummers, escort Randy Warren onto the field and Calais and the family and to love on them was special. And the rain, it did not rain during that moment of the game. As much as it rained, there were certain times where there was sunshine. At Harbor Nights, they got to experience Harbor Nights, right? But that Tuesday night was really special, to have, DJ Fat Man playing the music there and to bring together the soccer and the field hockey community, right? To bridge those worlds. Shout out to our under 15, I believe, women's national team, and Dunn Vickers and his team, his staff, right? That to me was special. Even for us to have a show like this, an Island Stats conversation. I want to give a shout out to folks like Norbert Simons and Craig Tyrrell and my dad who helped to make the Leopards Club experience happen. Just many, Donna Rayner, who said, "Hey, Grotto Bay is the spot." You know what I mean? That you all should stay, right? I mean, Craig Bubbles Darrell. Like, so, I love I can't wait for this academic year when I see some of our student athletes on campus and they're gonna be like, Rangers, get them. I look at plays and Bermuda names, and I mean, so here's the vision for me. I haven't even shared this with Coach Shaddy, but I'm not afraid to share it with the group and Bermuda at large. I would love for us to have either a Bermuda night or an island night or something this fall when Bermudians come to a field hockey game, maybe come either to a football or basketball game, and come and experience our campus and visit. Shout out to PHC and Dandytown, my club, but PHC, I've got love for them as well, who, just people who, and organizations who embraced us in various settings, whether it was me individually or the team collectively. It was special. As you said, Dandytown, special people do special things. So, thank you again to Bermuda. Thank you to Coach Shelley, Sam, Cass. Cass has a whole chair that she leads. We got a whole new chair. She's got to do it before we jump off. And also to every student athlete at Cal Athletics who watches this and our administration, we value you. We appreciate you. This is what we mean when we say we're going to accelerate the IBJ. So I'm just grateful that they believed in the vision and applied all that we've been talking about for the last 2.5 years since I've been there and beyond. So I want to make sure that Cass, one of the student athletes, got to find a work. She's got a whole chair that we did in schools. And I hope that we can somehow close to that at some point.
We will close to that, Cass. You are on, Cass.
On. All right. Do I have some responders for me?
It's us.
All right. Are you ready? When I say go, you say Bears. Go.
Bears.
Go.
Bears.
When I say go, you say Burmy. Go.
Burmy.
Go.
Burmy.
All right.
I want to let you know, Mr. Basman, that we surveyed the team and I asked them for their favorite meal and everybody said fish sandwich.
Well, that means you know what that means. You'll be back.
Yeah, and we will keep this going, Dr. Ty. That's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We look forward to hosting Cal again, no matter what sport it is. But the hockey team is always going to be welcome back. You led the charge. You got to bring the charge again.
Thank you.
Dr. Ty, thank you very much for organizing this with me. We do have a few comments. Let's just go. See that? Look, Bears.
Yes, Bears, Furman.
Nice.
Shout out to Coach Colvin and the Bermuda Field Hockey Association as well, Field Hockey Federation. I hope that you get to bring them on at some point. I must say I was a little torn. I was cheering for both teams, but I just want to make sure that we continue to amplify and support them and the important work that they're doing. Miss Frey.
I heard you on the microphone. You were trying to be as down the middle as possible, but it's all good. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We look forward to talking to you guys again very soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a
Thank you
good
so
night.
much.
All right.
Bye.